this is the explanation for listen to my words. This is a great routine. I absolutely love doing this for people. In the right setting, it kills. Now, this is a situational routine. All the other ones can be done pretty much anywhere, anytime. This one needs ambient noise. Now, what do I mean by that? This isn't the one to do with you and one person in a living room. It's not going to work. It doesn't, you don't have the misdirection, and you don't have the noise that you need, the background noise. Where will this work? Pretty much anywhere where there's other people. Restaurant, outdoors in the street, there's lots of side noises. Anywhere where there's just slight noise, bars, clubs, you know, just hanging out with your coworkers. That generally, there's other people talking, there's some chatter. What you're going to need to do this routine is, of course, some sort of recorder. I'm using a Sony microcassette M450. These are very common. You can use the M450 or the M470. They're at Amazon, most office supply stores. They range from anywhere from $20 to about $35. Notice this is a microcassette recorder. There's a reason for that and not a digital recorder. The reason is the audio quality is much more grainy, and that is used to our advantage. A friend of mine named Alex Vonti says that he uses a digital recorder, and he's experimented by turning down the sensitivity on the microphone, and that adds a little subtlety of people being able to see the time you actually recorded it. I haven't tested that out, but feel free if you have a digital recorder to give that a shot. Now, the feature on this one that allows it to be very useful is the pause button, which allows you to pause in the middle of recording without stopping the recording. So it doesn't record anymore, but it's not a stop button. So there's not a loud noise in the background that you've stopped the recording. It just freezes, and as soon as you unpause, it instantly re-records without the touch of any other button. In order to perform this, you're going to have to perform a center tear or a peak. We go over that in a different section of the DVD, including subtleties, references on where you can learn it, so I'm not going to go over that again. Reference that part on how to do the center tear. What I do is, prior to approaching a group of people, I decide who I'm going to use at the table or out of the group, and usually I use either a lady or somebody that's dressed unique, because I'm going to get on the tape recorder and briefly describe what they're wearing and who they are. I'm going to walk up to a table. Here's a demonstration. I would walk up to a table, make sure you rewind it. I'm about to approach a table, and there's a lady there. I think she's wearing a red blouse and some jeans and hoop earrings. And I'm going to ask her to think of somebody really important in her life. Maybe a friend, a family member. And I just have this feeling that the person she's thinking of, that person's name is pause. Right at that moment, after I'm enunciating the S sound of is, I pause. I place this into my jacket. Now, if you're not wearing a jacket, I'll give you some alternatives. If you have a jacket that has a top-it, which is just this big pocket here. There's great ways to learn this. This is Michael Lamar's top-it. I use it as a pocket. It's very effective. I place the recorder inside the top-it, so it's easy to access. Or you can place it up here in your top left jacket pocket. Either way, you want to be able to turn to your left briefly if you're right-handed, reverse the actions if you're left-handed, be able to take this out, bring it to your lips, and hit pause again. Now, the key to this section is the misdirection, when you're going to turn around and record the name, because it's paused right at is. After you've performed the center tear, as I hand them the piece of paper, go through the subtleties, tell them to write down the name, I say be very secretive. I want you to cover it up. Don't let anybody see what you're writing. Cover it up really well, fold it in half, and hold on to it. And I tell them, I make a point of stating, don't show it to anyone else. I turn around, I perform my peak or my center tear, I glimpse the name, and then I say, great. Now everybody, you're all thinking of a person, right? You know the person she's thinking of? And they say, no, we don't. And I go, oh, you didn't tell them? And I make a mistake as if I didn't realize that I had told her not to tell them. And I go, oh, well, you know what? Tell them, but I don't want you to think I'm reading your lips or anything. I won't look. And in that moment, all misdirection is on them, because they're looking at each other. They want to hear what she's saying. And I don't even turn completely around. I turn about 3/4, about to here. I reach into my jacket. Let me give you an exposed view of what this would look like. I bring this up, and let's say the person she's thinking of is named Nancy. I bring it up, and at the same volume, which is relatively light that I spoke before, I just open it up, unpause, and say, Nancy. Pause again, drop it back in my jacket. Now I know what you're thinking, because I would have thought it too. How do people not see that? I'm telling you, people do not see it. I've performed this at corporate shows surrounded, or even when I turned around, people were right next to me, and I said, you know what, tell them, I won't look. You know what, listen to what she says. And I just turned around, and I walked back a step or two if I needed to. I brought it up and did this. Nobody thinks anything of it. You put it back in, it happens in literally 1 to 2 seconds, max. It goes in your jacket, you walk back over, and you tell them you're not going to believe this. Before I walked over here, I knew you were going to think of someone special in your life, and I had a feeling about this. I want you to listen to it. You take out the recording, you hit stop, which will unclick it, and you rewind. And at this point, you're going to play back the message. and they're going to hear it. And what adds a very nice level of credibility to the fact that you taped this earlier is the little speech you gave about how you're just about to approach a group. There's two gentlemen, there's a woman wearing red and some hoop earrings, and you're going to ask her. It sounds as if it's in the future. People know that you had no time to ever record all of those things, and there's just a clear description of everything that happens and then the name. It doesn't sound like there's any pause. Now, one thing I have to note for you is some of these recorders are better and some aren't with the pause button. Some almost make no noise at all. Some have a slight click, a very slight click between when you talked, when you paused, and when you went back. So right before Nancy, it'll go is, very slight, almost not audible, click, and then Nancy. How do I avoid this? What I do to ensure that even if there's not a lot of ambient noise, nobody will notice that, is as I record my prediction before I walk up to them, I'll push record, and while recording, I'll throw in some extra pauses so it sounds as if these little clicking noises are part of the normal recording process. They get camouflaged in. Let me give you an example. I'm about to walk up to a table, and there's a woman and two gentlemen there. Click, I just paused. I'm going to unpause and keep talking. And I'm going to ask this woman to think of someone important in her life. Pause. So they get used to this little noise in the middle of the words. Let me keep going. She's going to think of someone really important to her, and I get this feeling, pause, so there's 3 or 4 thrown in there, don't overdo it, that the person she's thinking of, their name is, and pause again. So notice that was the last pause, and here we go with the name. David. Now I want you to listen to this so you'll hear these little pauses and how they're so camouflaged in. Now keep in mind, you're listening to this from very close up and no background noise whatsoever. So the pauses are going to be much more pronounced. In any situation with background noise, you can barely even hear them, if at all. I'm telling you the truth, I do this a lot.